Hi everybody, thank you for watching this video. My name's Danielle, I'm nearly 22 and this is me talking about my journey to diagnosis for endometriosis. I decided to make this video because I wanted to share my journey to try and help others, because unfortunately endometriosis is one of these things that are out there that not many people know about. The awareness isn't great, but we're pushing for that, and we're pushing for a shorter diagnosis time, and hopefully by me sharing my journey and my symptoms and things, I can hopefully help somebody else. So yeah, thank you for watching. So pretty much just going to get straight into it. So how it started for me. Apologies in advance if I am looking to the side. I've got my laptop with a load of notes because I didn't want to miss any points out, so I might just be referring back and forth. But anyway, so yeah, so I was 12 when I started my period. Instantly it was pretty heavy, very painful, but I just kept going. Thought it's just because I've started, it's not regular because I've just started, I'm only 12, so it just kind of didn't really think much of it. Skip to about a year later, it got pretty intense. I was having a week off every month of school. Every time my period would come, I'd have to be off school for at least a week, which obviously my school wasn't very impressed by because they didn't understand. Typical. So that's when my mum kind of said, look, something isn't right. You look really pale, you look really poorly that time of the month. This isn't normal. So that's when I first went to the doctors. So I went and saw the nurse. I kind of explained my situation and she instantly said, let's put you on the pill. Maybe that will help. Maybe you're just unlucky. So we started talking about that. Unfortunately, because I have migraines, that I have movements in my eyes, I can't have the combination pill. So I have to have the mini pill. So I got put on the mini pill. When I say for the next 5 years of my life, I tried every single mini pill that you can get on the market in the UK. I have been on every single one, and every single one just didn't work. So yeah, I met my fiance in 2016. I was still having problems, and then we started to obviously get intimate. I started having bleeding during and after sex, which was ringing major alarm bells. So I went back to the nurse. I said, this is starting to happen. So they did swabs just to be on the safe side. But obviously because I was only 17, I wasn't old enough for a smear test. So they did swabs for other things, but not a smear. So that was when I kind of come to a head with the pill, and I thought, this isn't working. This isn't getting anywhere for me. So we went on to the depot injection, which I had every 12 weeks. First few months, that worked amazingly for me. No bleeding, no breakthrough. Absolutely wonderful. It was amazing. After a few months of it, my bleeding started to come back. So I would get to about the 10-week mark. My injection was due at the 12-week mark. My period would start, and it wouldn't stop until that injection was put back in my system. So that's when we decided we'd put me on the pill as well as the depot injection, but instead of having my injection at a 12-week mark, I would have it every 10 weeks. So that's what I did, and that was fine. That worked fine for me. No bleeding. I would still have bleeding during sex and after sex, but my GP wasn't too concerned about that. So I kind of just made a note of how often it happened. It would happen sometimes, it would happen not so often, but the pain during sex was getting worse, but they didn't seem to worry about that. So I just thought, maybe it's just me. They're not worrying about it, so kind of just move on. So at the start of this year, being 2021, I got engaged to my fiance. At the time, I thought, I'm going to come off of all hormonal contraception because I have been on it since I was 12, which is 10 years this year. I needed to know what my body did naturally. I don't know when I ovulate. I don't have a cycle, anything, because obviously not only that, but being on the mini pill, you don't have a break. So you just take it every day. So I was like so out of tune with my own body. I was just like, I want to know what's going on. And then also we want to try for children in the future. I'm kind of that person that wants to pre-plan 2 years ahead. Like our wedding is 2 years away and I'm planning that now. I want to know if there's something wrong with me now and I can't have children. I want to know now. So I missed my injection slot. My period didn't come back after the 12-week mark, even though I should have had it at the 10, it didn't come back until the 12-week mark. I stayed on the pill because I didn't want to completely come off of everything and cause chaos. So I thought if I just slowly get the injection out of my system and then just keep taking the pill and then slowly come off of that, it should be a more gradual, basically, decline off of it. Oh boy, was I wrong. So the 12-week mark came after my injection and my lovely Mother Nature appeared, and she came with vengeance, let's just say that. So I just thought, you know what, my body's probably kind of freaking out because I've taken an extra hormone away, so let's just kind of just get through it. It'll be okay. I will finish. It will finish. We got to the next month, no change. Every day was exactly the same. There was no easing of it, no lightening of it. It was starting to get heavier and clotty, something I'd never experienced before, and I was starting to worry. So I rang the nurse and she said, well, why don't you double up on the pill and just try and get the injection out of your system and then focus on that. So I was like, okay, right, do that. So I got straight on doubling up on the pill, which did absolutely nothing. It was like, my body was just like, no. I got to about 65 days of bleeding and I sat down with my fiance. I said, I'm really, really struggling. I said, mentally, physically and emotionally. I'm going to the toilet every hour. I'm struggling to move. I can't do this anymore. So we talked about what my options were. Obviously, we were still in the height of a pandemic at the time, so I didn't know what the wait times were for a scan through the NHS. But also back in 2018, just after I went on the injection, they sent me for an internal and ultrasound, and I never got the results from that. So it was kind of like, I'm not really going to get anywhere anytime soon. I need to have answers now because I need this to stop. And that's when we discussed about me going for a private scan. I paid £110, and when I tell you that was the best £110 I have ever spent, it is the best £110 I have ever spent. So in my local town, there is a 4D baby scan centre, but she also offers gynecological health checks, whether that be strictly for fertility or just an overall health check. So I messaged and I kind of said, look, this is my problem. Is this something you can maybe look for, check me over for? I don't want to waste your time and my time and money, and it's pointless. And she was so lovely, and she said, no, this is not right. You need to come and see me. So I booked to go in on the Saturday, and I was so grateful that my fiance could come in with me, because I've had so many medical traumas with my endo, and just being told and treated like I'm just unlucky and it's a bad period, and no, I have to kind of defend myself, which I really struggle with. So it was so nice to be able to have him there, and also if it was going to be bad news, he could take the information in because I knew I wouldn't. So, and the support as well. So we went in and I had a full-on chat with her about everything, and she did the internal and she spent about 45 minutes checking absolutely everything. So she found my left ovary perfectly fine. She said, it's full of eggs, that looks great. And I was like, I know it sounds so sad, but I was literally crying when she said my ovary looked fine, because in my head I had no idea what was going on with that. And when somebody says that looks good, the relief you get from that was insane. That's when she moved on to my right ovary, which she couldn't find, and it was super painful. I struggle with pain with internal ultrasounds and examinations. They really hurt me, but she was so gentle and so like communicating with me to make sure like if I needed a break we could stop. She managed to find it and it looked actually fine, but that's when she found the first piece of endometriosis. I just want to put a massive disclaimer out here because it's very rare and unusual that endometriosis shows on a scan. You could go for an internal and an ultrasound scan and it will look perfectly fine, but you have endometriosis. So please don't take this away thinking I've just had one and nothing's come up, because I've had one in the past and they couldn't find anything quite clearly because they never told me. So it's just one of those things, unfortunately. You can have endometriosis and it doesn't have to show in a scan. So really, they are pretty pointless in my opinion, because it hardly ever comes up, rarely comes up. But anyway, mine did. So she measured it and it was quite big. And she said about it, but she said I had no signs of polycystic ovaries, but I am showing signs of endometriosis, which I kind of had a feeling anyway after doing my own research in between the time of coming off of my injection and things like that, because I'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of it until I did the research. I'd heard of polycystic ovaries, but I'd never heard of endometriosis until I did my own research. So yeah, that's when she found it. And then she went back to my left ovary and she found another piece that was potentially endometriosis. She measured up again and she kind of said to me, look, I'm 99.9% sure that's what it is. I will write a letter to your GP and send them the pictures that I've taken, and you need to push hard for your diagnosis because this needs to be sorted. And she was so lovely. I highly recommend her to absolutely anybody. So she sent that to my GP, so I thought I'll just wait around to be referred to the gynecologist, because I never had been referred to the gynecologist. I just dealt with everything through my GP. So I waited 3 weeks and hadn't heard anything, so I rung and I kind of said, look, I've had a scan, have you had the results? And they're like, no. And I was like, okay, right, okay. So gave it another week, I rang back and the receptionist went, yeah, we've had it and there's nothing wrong. And I was like, I'm sorry, are we seeing the same thing? Because she's seen 2 bits of potential endometriosis. Are we talking about the same thing? And she was really reluctant to get the GP to call me, but thankfully she did. The GP took 3 days to call me back. In that time, the GP was very reluctant to send me to the gynecologist because I'm not specifically trying for a baby right now. And that apparently the gynecologist would only care if I was trying for a baby, which I just think is absolutely disgusting. So I said, I don't care. I said, I want to see this gynecologist. If he tells me that, I'll deal with that. But I want it to come from him and not you. So she referred me. It was about a month wait. But in that time, I went back on the injection because I physically could not handle bleeding any longer, anymore. I just couldn't, because there was no end in sight. It was just every day, constant. I just couldn't deal with it. So I went back on that and the bleeding stopped. So since then, what was that? April? I've been back on my contraception just to tame the bleeding because I just couldn't go any longer. So along came my gynecologist appointment. I went in, I met him. He is absolutely lovely. Went in and chatted to him about my problems. He did swabs again and he did an examination and a tummy press, which was so painful. He had to stop and he looked at me and he was like, that's not normal. That's just not normal. So he gave me some antibiotics to treat me for a pelvis infection because I get a lot of pelvic pain. So he said, has anybody done that? And I said, no, nobody's done anything, to be quite honest, other than put me on contraception. So he sent me away with a 2-week course of antibiotics and then let him know how I got on. So I did the 2-week antibiotic course. Nothing changed pain-wise, because my symptoms obviously are heavy bleeding, extreme pain, cramps, lower back pain, bowel problems during and not on my period. But I've also, since coming off my contraception, developed pelvic pain, hip pain and ovary pain, which are new symptoms that I've only just developed since coming off of my contraception. So he treated me for that, didn't work. The pelvic pain and things were still there because obviously I'm not having periods, I'm not bleeding or having cramps from bleeding, I'm just having daily cramps of my pelvis and my ovaries. So I sent him a letter back and I said, look, I'm really, really sorry, but the antibiotics haven't worked. What can we do? So I had another appointment with him, which was just this Wednesday, just gone. And in between then, I had another NHS scan, as they seemed a little bit annoyed at me that I went private and that they wanted to get the results themselves because they didn't quite believe who I went and saw. So going back to that scan, I went and the nurse literally turned around to me and he said, I don't know what I'm looking for. I walked out of that appointment feeling so frustrated and upset, because every single time I've been to a medical appointment, nobody cares. Everybody just looks at you like, there's nothing wrong with you, you're just unlucky, there's nothing wrong, because you can't see it in scans. So I've had 2 scans, one has shown it and an NHS hasn't. Do you see the pattern here? So he had the results on Wednesday and he sat me down and he looked at me, he went, "Are you okay?" And I was like, no, I'm not okay. I said, I'm really struggling with the pain on a daily basis. Some days are better than others, but it's always kind of there in the background. And he said, we think this is quite severe. We're also now concerned about a cyst on my right ovary, which is crazy because I don't know where this has come from. So he said, my options are menopause treatment. So they would give you injections to basically put your body into a temporary menopause to try and help. But because he said I'm not bleeding, I'm not really going to get a difference, or it would be the surgery. I'll put it here because I butcher pronouncing it. It's really embarrassing. So I'll put it here. Laparoscopy. See, I can't say it, but I'll put it here and you can look into it. So this is basically to try and remove the endometriosis. This isn't a cure for it. This is to try and help ease it. And there is a 40% chance it will come back. But his main concern is obviously now this cyst as well. So I took that option. So now I am currently on the wait list to have it done. There's a 4 to 6 month wait list, but he did say he was going to try and shimmy me up the line, purely because we don't know how rapidly this is getting worse on a day-to-day basis. He did want, when I last spoke to him in the first appointment, he did want me to wait for the surgery until we were ready to start a family to try and like stimulate my womb. But unfortunately, we've got to a point now where I need to have this surgery done now because we don't know how bad it could affect me having children in the future. So he's going to do that and also take a biopsy of my womb just to be sure there isn't anything sinister going on. He doesn't think there is, but just to be on the safe side. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. So I'm just waiting for the surgery. I finally have some pain relief that I can take if and when needed, which is fab because I didn't have anything a week ago. So I was just kind of using hot water bottle and paracetamol, ibuprofen, things like that, and nothing touched it. So we'll see how we get on with that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But it's been a wild 10 years, and like I look back now and there were days where I was like 14 and I was bleeding so much to the point where that is not normal at all. And like leaking and things like that is just not normal. And it's now I know endometriosis, I look back and go, why was that not picked up years ago? It's scary, but I really hope we're on to a movement at the moment where awareness is being made more. 1 in 10 women are affected. It's becoming a lot more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It's just becoming a lot more out there, and it shouldn't be a taboo thing to talk about because it's one of the most painful things you can live with. And I think it's also one of the most mentally challenging things to live with. I can speak for myself. It's so difficult because unless you have it and you understand that pain, it's really difficult to try and explain it to somebody else, especially when I'm not having a period but I'm still in pain. Even I don't understand what's going on and I'm panicking and confused myself. But yeah, so I'm on the wait list for surgery. We'll see what happens after that. But I will be posting my journey on my Instagram, and hopefully maybe able to do some more videos and things like that on it, and maybe a video of my actual surgery before and after, because obviously this is my first time, so I kind of want to be raw and open with my experiences to kind of guide somebody else and help somebody else through theirs. So yeah, that's it really. But yeah, so thank you for watching. I hope this helped. If you do have any questions or anything, just drop them down below and I'll catch up with you all soon. Thank you, bye.